Following Jesus isn't always easy, but it's not complicated. This is Simple Faith in 5. Each weekday, we take the teachings of Jesus combined with a spiritual discipline and grow our faith in 5-minute shots. Click subscribe to make sure you don't miss a one. As we close out week 1 of our look at the big question in chapter 1 of Quest 52 by Mark Moore, we've been talking about this idea: is God Jesus? Or another way to say it is Jesus really God? And so as we come to the conclusion of this week, we've talked about many different aspects of that, but now the question remains for us: what will we do with that? And more specifically, what will you do with that? There's really only 4 options. Let me walk through them. First, you can conclude that Jesus was a stark, raving lunatic. Maybe he didn't think he was God, but he was severely sick psychologically. The problem is that in most cases of severe psychological disorder, the background of the person makes it very clear they had a profile and a history of mental illness. But nothing in the historical record of the life of Jesus exhibits a single sign of any of the classical manifestations of mental illness, such as the inability to relate to the real world, inadequacy in personal relationships, or deficiencies in verbal skills. In fact, psychiatrist J.T. Fisher concluded that if you were to survey all of the psychological data that his discipline has to offer and boil it down to one essential and perfect prescription for mental health, guess what? It would be the Sermon on the Mount, the most famous single message Jesus ever proclaimed. A second choice is to say he was simply a liar. He was God, but obviously knew he wasn't. But this would be saying that the man whose teaching has set the standard for integrity and honesty throughout the civilized world was a habitual, premeditated, pathological liar. Even more important to remember is that Jesus was arrested, mocked, beaten, and tortured horrifically prior to his execution, willingly. Jesus was offered a full pardon by the Roman governor Pilate if he would simply deny his claim to be God. If a con man could stop a nail being driven into the flesh of his hand by telling the truth, you would think he would. People who are playing the system for personal gain tend to change their game when it stops paying off. They keep up the lie until the deception costs them more than what they gain through the deceit. But Jesus endured it all. He never denied his claim to be God, though given every chance. A third option is to say that Jesus was just a good man, maybe even a prophet from God, but that's all. Not many people want to say that Jesus was a lunatic or even a liar. There really isn't any evidence for that, but they don't want to say he was God in human flesh either, so they land on him simply being a good man, a holy man, but no more. But there's a problem with this option as well. C.S. Lewis once wrote about this idea. Lewis is a brilliant intellect who journeyed himself from atheism to Christianity. In reflecting on this idea of Jesus being a good man, Lewis went after it and exposed how intellectually dishonest it really is. Let me read you some of his words. I'm trying here to prevent anyone saying the really foolish thing that people often say about him. I'm ready to accept Jesus as a great moral teacher, but I don't accept him to be God. That is the one thing we must not say. A man who was merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would either be a lunatic, on a level with the man who says he's a poached egg, or else he'd be the devil of hell. You must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman or something worse. You can shut him up for a fool, you can spit at him and kill him as a demon, or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. But let us not come with any patronizing nonsense about his being a great human teacher. He has not left that an option to us, and he did not intend to. And Lewis is right. Here we have a man who walked the earth and claimed to be God in human form. That's not neutral. Lewis was right. Here we have a man who walked the earth and claimed to be God in human form. So you can say that Jesus was insane, that the man who has, in the minds of many, given the world its greatest picture of sanity, was in fact a stark raving lunatic. Or you can say that Jesus was a liar, that the man whose teaching have set the standard for integrity and honesty in the civilized world was a habitual, premeditated, pathological deviant. Or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord, which is, of course, the last of the 4 options. But what you can't say is that Jesus was just a good man. No, because of what he said about his own identity, he's either Lord, a liar, or a lunatic. Take your pick. Now, we've been wrapping up every one of these teachings this week with a centering prayer, a spiritual discipline Christians have used for centuries. Words like, "Be still and know that I am God. My soul finds rest in God alone. Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner." And our spiritual centering prayer for this week is simply this: Jesus, will you make yourself known to me this year? Give us a week and we'll help you understand Jesus, but give Jesus a year, he'll change your life. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back next week with a brand new week, a brand new chapter from the book after a brand new teaching from the weekend. Have a great day, and as always, keep it simple.